Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you again, hosting HERstory Live. And our theme today is Tata to Cancer. So we've got some wonderful artists that are joining us today with Michelle Sandlin and Susan Benevides. But before we get to that, I have to give a shout out to somebody that I failed to do it last week. And that is my friend and collaborator, Jana. Jana has just been amazing behind the scenes with me throughout the summer as we got this underway. And every week, she's just a delight. So, Jana, thank you. And I look forward to a future time of you being an artist on our show and sharing your story as well. So,
Thank you. Thank
thank
you so much. I'm the honor to partnership with you. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to this amazing conversation. And I'm sure it will be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jana. All right. With that, many people know the two of you artists, but some don't. So, Michelle, maybe take, 20, 30 seconds and we'll start with you and have you just share your personal bio a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well, I am someone who is driven by and grounded by my family. They have been the driving force really behind everything that I've ever done. And that's something that was instilled in me by my mother at a very, very young age. I've been married for 35 years to my husband, who is my absolute rock. We have 2 children, a son and a daughter, 4 grandsons, a 5th one on the way, and 2 very spoiled English bulldogs. And apart from that, I would say that I'm a poet, I'm a drummer, and a crazy Peloton junkie.
You are, and I think you're recovering Converse shoe junkie too.
Yes, I'm recovering from that as well.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. And Susan, a lot of people know you and know your face, but they might not know the personal side of you. So take it away.
It's interesting. I was just thinking about, well, how would I describe myself? Well, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a stepmother, I'm a grandmother.
Right.
So and I'm a big brother, big sister couple. So Joe and I have a little that we are is part of our life. And, if to describe myself outside of work, for sure, I'm passionate. And that's one thing a lot of people say, and not passionate about everything, but philanthropy for sure, continued learning, reading, binging Netflix shows, Ted Lasso right now. But I'm passionate. And when I decide to go after something, I really never do it part way, ever.
Yeah, you're all in. Yeah.
Yes.
Just like the dump into the lake, right?
Yes.
You're all in, right?
Yes.
That's part of who you are.
I'll never do that again.
Well, this is a really important HERstory Live, and our theme is Tata to Cancer, and obviously the play on the Tatas. But I think this is a really important topic. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's more than just breast cancer. It's a lot of cancers too. But with that, Michelle, I would love if you would take some time and share your story.
Sure.
Share your story with us.
Sure. So I would say my story really starts in March of 2019. That is when I very unexpectedly lost my mother, which sent me into a place of really profound grief, as you can imagine, in losing a parent. And through coping and trying to keep myself out of a very dark place, I made 3 major important changes in my life. The first was I cut out all alcohol. And the second was that I started eating really very healthy. And the third was that I purchased a Peloton. And so for the last 2 years, I've really been on this health kick journey where I have literally been working out 6 days a week. That's not just Peloton, but walking, running, weightlifting, yoga. I mean, really doing everything I can to keep my body moving. And quite ironically, I was in the best, most fit shape of my life, probably since high school, when out of nowhere, and I will say out of nowhere, I found what I thought was a lump in my breast at the end of May. And it came at a time that was just a couple of weeks after having the second COVID vaccine. And I had read or Googled, which you never do not Google, that you could have some tenderness and, some different things. But there was just something about it that was nagging at me and kept saying, this just doesn't feel right. And so I did let it go for a few weeks because I talked myself out of it. But by the time I was like, okay, it's time to go to the doctor, I went to the doctor. And I went to the doctor on the Thursday. And then on the Friday, I went to have a mammogram, an ultrasound. That led to a biopsy. And then on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, I received a call to say I tested positive for breast cancer. And you really could have just knocked me over because, number one, cancer of any form doesn't even run in my family. I'm the first person, to get cancer. And from there, everything moved really fast. I mean, we're talking warp speed, and all this terminology that's overwhelming just gets flown at you. And the word that kept sticking out to me was aggressive. They kept talking about how aggressive it is. I said, oh, no, you haven't met me. I'm aggressive. Let's do this. Let's fight. I'm gonna, kick cancer's ass, basically. And so I guess right now I'm kind of at the halfway mark in my treatment. I'll have round number 12 on Friday. And then we're talking, about surgeries and things like that after the first of the year. But honestly, I have to stay in the moment. I can't think about January or February. I got to stay right here. And, definitely there are good days, bad days. I try to focus on the good days. And so, yeah, here we are.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that story. And also, I think, one of the things for those that follow you on social media, you've been very transparent and very vulnerable with your journey to some people of what it's like to be in the infusion center and, all of that. In fact, one of my goals is we're going to get Kenny. We're going to get Kenny on, that's one of my goals. But
yes.
But thank you for sharing that, and in particular the profound loss. You opened up talking about your mom, and it must be hard, I think, for you facing this without her.
It is. It is, and that's something that I deal with every day, like trying to figure out what she would say, what she would do, what she would be like, and it's hard. It's hard without your mom.
Yeah.
And yesterday was her 80th birthday. So happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah, there you go. Happy birthday to Mom. Susan, this is a great segue too, because, your story is that ever important role of supporter. So I'd love if you take some time and talk about, your story with cancer and its many, many impacts.
Yeah, and I don't think my story's different from a lot of people, right? Because while I haven't had cancer, although, Michelle, when we booked this, I did make my mammogram because I was delayed on next Monday. Good. So, and I just want to, before I start kind of my story, Michelle, you make a really good point. A lot of times, and I think this is for a lot of women who are in business and, busy running families, we often forget to take care of ourselves. I remember one time I went to the doctor and he said, do you realize it's been 7 years since you've been in here? I'm like, no, I've been in here every other month with the kids. But I was forgetting to take care of myself. And, we have this idea that we're so strong, we're resilient, it'll never happen to us. So, Michelle, of all people, you're right. You're so strong, so positive, in the best shape of your life. And then you get that message, right? And so that's an important message for our listeners to hear, because we go with this it'll never happen to me scenario,
right?
And it's important to take care of ourselves. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Story's a little different, as I've been more on the support side of people with cancer. So one of my dearest friends was diagnosed with breast cancer when we were 29, and believe it, back then, we didn't think young people could get cancer. And she felt a lump, and they sent her home for 6 months and said, come back when, it can't be, you're only 29. And today, I don't think the new generation understands that, but this is, 30 years ago, that's how that was, or right, 40 years ago. So she ended up getting full-blown breast cancer, and it went into her lymph nodes. She beat that. She had the most positive attitude. Then it came back about 5 separate times. And we lost her 2 years ago. And, the question that's often asked is, how do you support somebody who's going through cancer? And my father has cancer right now. And in fact, last night was one of those support nights where he's in the ER, and my stepmother's calling saying, what do I do? And she actually said to me this morning, sometimes I feel like a small child who keeps asking for help and I never can give anything back. And I said, it's so important for people to ask for help when they're going through cancer, or the spouse of somebody who is, because you don't know what to do. And sometimes them saying, can you come get the dog, is really helpful, right? Can you let me out? Not everybody wants you to bring lasagna to them. They have plenty of that, right? They don't want that. So it's important to ask for help, but also to look for unique ways to help people. Now, pre-COVID with my girlfriend, we actually would go in whenever she had her treatments. We'd sit in 2 hours and do infusions. And, I miss meetings at work for it. And I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I prioritized her care. I'm so glad I'm prioritizing my dad's care. We've got a sister-in-law right now who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer a few months ago. And, it's hard to know what to do to support people, but giving a note, giving a small gift, a candle, just something, just say, I may not be able to help you, especially if you're not in town with them, but I want you to know you're loved, and not be like, well, I didn't know what to say. And so, but it's hard as somebody, it's had a big impact on my life, and losing a close friend was devastating. And I'm not the only one, but I think we need to talk about this more openly so that we can shed a tear, hug, do whatever we need to do, and not keep this a secret, but also encourage each other to go get those tests done, get the pap smears done, take advantage of your health. And, it's funny, Michelle, we got the Peloton too, and I work out. And when I'm in the middle of my workouts, I sit there and think about my friend, my dad, my sister-in-law, who can't do that right now. And it gives me an extra strength to say, don't take advantage of your health. Be blessed that you can do this right now.
Right.
And so I do it for them. I'm fighting for me for them. If
That's so nice. I've really tried to maintain being on the Peloton as much as possible. I'm definitely not working out 6 days a week anymore, but I am working out 3 days a week, and religiously the mornings before chemo, I'm on the Peloton before I get in the shower. My husband just walks by and shakes his head. He can't believe. He's like, we're going to, chemotherapy, I'm like, I don't care. I'm on my Peloton. This is going to prepare me for what's coming, all the poison that's coming into my body. I get some of these toxins out my way. So it's something I can control.
No, I love that, Michelle, and that what you just said at the end, it gives you something you can control. And Susan, I think too, and it must be hard in the care role, and welcome your thoughts around, how do you know what not to do as much as what to do? And equally, how are you during that part of it taking care of yourself too, right?
Yeah.
You often say the caregiver, and you were supporting, but you've got a lot there. The caregiver often doesn't take care of themselves and ends up getting sick too. So how do you maintain that?
Well, it's with my girlfriend. We have a group of us. She called us the Fab Five. And right away she said, my Fab Five's part of my circle with my husband. And so she really allowed us to be part of that life. Right. And, one of the things what I would recommend not doing is giving advice. It's really hard to take that in, and everybody has a story, and, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Or you should go do this. That's, they're listening to so many doctors along the way that giving advice is not what everybody wants. One of the things that I think you can do during this time is have those conversations that you never thought you would have. Say, I need you to hear how much I love you. I need you to hear why I love you so much. And do those things now, not when they're gone. And so, with my girlfriend, when we knew she was, it was getting tough, we laid in bed and said, what are you scared of?
Wow.
What can we do? What are you going to miss the most? And we just, and she was so generous. I mean, literally she had, before she passed, she had her husband lay out certain jewelry for each of us that she wanted us to have. So she did a lot of thinking. But have those conversations with people and tell them how much they mean to you and tell them how much you love them. That's what I think. I mean, it doesn't matter whether the prognosis is really scary or not. Tell them you love them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what a beautiful
I'm
story.
crying. Sorry.
No, I know, but you know, what a beautiful story of thinking about that you don't have to be afraid, but they need to hear that. So thank you for sharing that with your friend. And I remember Julie, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that and that journey. So
Yeah. Look at me. I'm
thank
a
you for
mess.
your vulnerability and sharing how you hopped in the bed and asked her and authentically said, "What are you afraid of?"
Yeah.
You know, Michelle, you're somebody that's fighting this right now. And
Right.
so from the care community, what speaks to you? Like what would you like?
Yeah, so it's been interesting from the very get-go when I had to tell, in particular, my brother and in particular, my daughter, there were tears. And the first thing I had to tell both of them is no tears allowed, because I really, I guess the thing that I didn't expect was that I was going to be managing their emotions. I wasn't just going to feel what I was going to be feeling, but I was also, in care of their emotions. And I had to let them know, look, this is not how it ends for me. This is me in the fight of my life, but I will fight my way out of it. But y'all have to promise me, no tears. And when I told my daughter, she's probably my most sensitive person, I had to give it to her in mouse droppings because I couldn't just, give it to her all at once. So I had to kind of have this very, very long conversation that went from A to B, B to C, before we got to the word, cancer, and then came the tears anyway. But for me, it's about trying to make sure the people around me stay at the same level of positivity that I'm at. And I also want to speak to something that Susan mentioned a few minutes ago, and that's, the cards, the letters, the little things that you don't think are a big deal. They're a huge deal. Almost every single day, I run to my mailbox like a little kid waiting to hear from my pen pal or something. And there are cards and letters and little, blankets and hats and scarves and just, oh my gosh, the Relo community and beyond, it's just been absolutely incredible. And the positive, thoughts and prayers and everything just lift me up on a daily basis. It's so, so important.
Yeah.
Peggy, one of the things my group did too is as we were going through, Julie was going through some really challenging things with what treatments, what not treatments. We actually did a group of us, close friends, actually did a Tuesday morning prayer group, and whoever could join. And we would just take turns picking out maybe a passage and just reading it out loud for her. And because there's a lot of, if you're faith-based, there's a lot of prayers that are specifically around cancer and talk about, praying for outcomes and different things like that. So it didn't have to occur with her. We didn't say, well, let's pray. But it allowed us to express our emotions together. But that Tuesday morning prayer coffee and it was just on the phone. This was before COVID, so it was on the phone, and whoever came, and sometimes we just talked, and it was to support the caregivers through that. And then, and Julie never knew we did it, but she didn't need to, but it was really good for us.
That's awesome.
I think that's a really, really good point, Susan, because the caregiver maybe at times feels totally helpless. And because you can't fight the cancer, but I love that you all created this prayer group that she never knew you did.
Mm-mm.
And you just did it. And probably my guess is that all of you needed it for each other as well, knowing
Yes.
what you were each trying to do. That's a great suggestion and idea. I think that's really, really good. Well, let me turn out and see if anybody out in our group that's able to join us has any questions. And if not, we'll continue the dialogue. Michelle, one of the things that I love is, and you and I had a chat about this, is your hats. and what the hats mean to you in your own dignity and control. Maybe you can share a little bit about some of that. I love that.
You know, it's kind of ironic because somebody once told me, Michelle, you realize you have branded your effing hair. And now I don't have any hair. So, so now I guess I'm branding hats. I don't know. But, you know, I think when you go through this, you got to figure out, are you a hat person? Are you a scarf person? Are you a bald person? Are you a wig person? And I found out I'm definitely a hat person. But even walking around my own house, I'm in a hat all day long because number one, it's cold. It's cold. But number two, I don't want to really pass any mirrors and see that. It's very, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just hard to see yourself so different than you've ever seen yourself before. And my husband, God love him, he can't stop touching my bald head in such an endearing way. And so I'm very thankful for that. Thank you, Kenny, if you're listening, because he has been just my absolute rock and just my support through this. He's been just wonderful.
Actually, Peggy, can I bring up something? You know,
Sure.
wigs are very expensive. And I don't think people realize that good wigs are very
Oh,
expensive.
yeah.
And there is a push right now to try to get it covered by insurance for people who are going through cancer. So if there's anything, you know, I want to do more research on this because I think it should be covered, right? And so because a lot of people can't afford it, they're struggling as it is. So I'm gonna see what I can dig into. If there's things we can sign, petitions we can sign, people we can give money to that would support people who choose to go the wig route. Because I mean, my girlfriend Julie had the cutest pink bob. I mean, it was the most adorable thing. But I think we should look at that's one way as a community we could support to give people that choice of either hats or wigs or something to help them in that way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great suggestion. You know, Michelle, there's been a couple of questions come in, and one from Ben. And by the way, Ben, a big shout out. Thank you again to Love and Relo for letting us use the platform to tell our HERstory live stories here. But you know, you can see it down there in the chat. He's like, you know, what should we say, both Susan, you and Michelle, when somebody does say they have cancer, and you know, what's the right thing?
I don't think there's a right or wrong thing. I think it's just having some sort of empathy that comes across that, you know, lets you know that you know that they care about you in some way, and that they're hearing what you're saying. But there's no words. It's like when someone dies, sorry is not like enough, right? It's just like, okay, well, sorry. But I think it's just that acknowledgement of, gosh, I am really sorry, genuinely sorry that this has happened to you. But I think there's always a but I know you and you will fight this.
Right.
And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear people tell me how strong I am. I want people to tell me how I'm going to kick cancer's ass. I want to hear all of that. I don't want the pity. I don't want the I'm sorry so much as I want the lifting up.
Yeah, how can I kick cancer's ass with you?
Exactly.
And I think that's an important thing. I think some people get afraid. You know, I always say, do it afraid. You know, don't go silent. I think people are like, well, I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything.
Right.
That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody. You say, I'm sorry for the situation. Let's go fight this thing. You got this. I got this. I'm going to be your cheerleader.
Right.
That's the easiest thing to say because you can't fix it. And again, I would be cautious on the side of giving advice and, you know, using too much of other people's stories because it's complicated. And, you know, a lot of people have a lot of advice and it's just more of a time to listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And our friend Janet has posted, she's, you know, if you all can read this, and our fellow guests here, you know, started cancer clinic, right? And I love that. So yeah, Janet, let's connect and make HERstory in our LinkedIn group, because I think there's some great stuff we can amplify.
Let's do that for sure.
Yeah, we're almost, but not quite to the end of our time. I want to pivot to something here, and you know, which is that prevention and that awareness. And you know, maybe if we can have Jana post up this slide, and I'll share a little story with this, and you all take a good look at this. This is, you know your lemons, and it's a foundation. And I'll tell you how I came across this. And we all feel like it's a hard lump, but as you can see here, I think this campaign is so incredible here. But I stumbled across this because I'm a big crumble cookie lover. And for those that do or don't know crumble cookies, they every year they have a theme, or every year, excuse me, every week they do a theme, and then they bake, 4 or so cookies that align to that theme. And this week's theme, and my family plays a game with this. We sit down and they come out every Sunday night, and we're like, what do you think the theme will be this week? And what kind of cookies do you think? And so this week, huge shout out to Crumble Cookies, because their theme is a shout out to breast cancer. And they're partnering with knowyourlemons.org, the foundation. And if you go in and buy a cookie, and you can make a donation, but we're going to post this on our Making HERstory site as well, because it is more than just a lump. And so I think, Michelle, you listened to your intuition, you paid attention. And so, I think that's our responsibility to each other. And Susan, I'm so glad you went and made your mammogram. I need to go do mine, actually, and get that done. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jana. We can move that back, and we'll make that available to friends out there. So it is almost nearly the end of our show. And I do, before I talk about next week's show, I want to turn. Oh, do you see that, Michelle? It's
Not today.
Not today. We'll have to have you back, Meredith. That's a great question. I love that. But my final question to both of you artists is really tied into what advice, as part of your journey, what advice would you offer to young women today? And either can start this.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I think for me, it's kind of 4 really important things. The very first one is the most important one, and that's that you always, always, always have to be in tune with your body. And if something doesn't feel right, if you don't feel right, if something seems abnormal, it may very well be abnormal, and you need to go as fast as you can to the frickin' doctor. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go straight to the doctor. And the second thing is, if God forbid something is wrong, whether it's cancer or something else, rally your troops. Your support system, as Susan has been talking about, is so critical, and they will be your rock, your stability, your everything through this. And the third one I've already talked about, and that's the positive attitude, making sure that the troops that you've rallied are also having that same positive attitude. And the fourth one is for me, I guess, message by example. And that's what I've been kind of doing in these in the moment videos, whether it's me at the cancer treatment center about to get chemo, trying to demystify the process or whatever it is, because I think that there's an inspiring, encouraging quality to doing that. And it's kind of my way, I hope, of paying it forward in some way. And what I should have said as part of my story earlier, which is very important, is my chemotherapy is working and my tumor is down by half. So just wanted to let y'all know that before I leave out the most important thing. So even though I'm going through hell to get there, it's all working. So I'm all on board. I'm all in.
Thank you, Michelle, for that. Susan, how about you? What advice would you give to young women?
And I'm going to go off my dad's given me a lot of advice in my day, but it's interesting because the one that he always uses with me is worry is a waste. And as we're talking about this, some people get anxious and then you start to get worried. And sometimes worry makes people paralyzed. I don't want to know because I'm worried that it might be something I don't want to hear. Right. And so then they don't do anything, or, they worry, Michelle tells them and then they're worried about her and they go to these places and you can't do that. And worrying and waste is a lot of things. We spend a lot of time, women especially, I think, worrying about things. And we worry about things that may or may not happen. My dad also has another thing about the word fear. He said false expectations appearing real. And I think Michelle is really, right now, she's taking today as today. She's not saying, well, what if? And now I'm afraid my scan's going to be bad in 3 months. She's taking today and living for today. So fear, false expectations appearing real, and worry is a waste.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Susan. And I want to give a shout out to everybody that joined in and listened as well. And by the way, we had men. Let's not forget, there's
Yes.
prostate cancer, there's all kinds of cancer. So I want to give a shout out to Vinny, to Ben, to Ryan, a few of the names I saw in the chat. Thank you all for listening in and championing HERstory. You have a vital role in the HERstory legacy and elevating and supporting that. So let me end on this. I am super excited because next week, Susan, who is our co-founder of HERstory, so Susan invited me actually, she and I are going to be hosting HERstory Live Unplugged from Orlando at the IAM conference. So just want to give a shout out to have people join in at the exact same time next week. And then further, if you want to be a featured artist or have a featured topic, feel free to join our Making HERstory group. Put your note in there, or you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can certainly find Susan on LinkedIn, but feel free to do that. And Vinny, I love what you read. HERstory is our story. Thank you for your support. Anyway, you all be well, be safe. Go check your tatas.
Yeah. And Michelle?
Yes.
Oh, look at the village you have right here.
I know, it's wonderful. Thank you all so much for watching and tuning in, and I love you all.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.